People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that friends, pictures, profiles? I'm talking about taking the entire social experience of college and putting it online.
It used to be that kids were free to play outside with their friends all night. Due to changing times, it is no longer safe to do that. Kids mostly play inside. They are on the internet all day and barely even speak to each other face to face anymore. They now use social networking to communicate. What used to be known as a word of mouth is now world of mouth, a never-ending world of status updates, photos, and opinions. News that used to take months to spread now takes seconds. That high school sweetheart you thought you would never see again is now right in front of your eyes. Those kids who get pushed into lockers at school and made fun of are now prone to the new type of teasing on the computer called cyberbullying. Now what happens in Vegas stays on the internet. A social network named Facebook is responsible for all of these things. Facebook connects the world easier and faster than ever. As we enter this new age of communication, Facebook is a turning point.
The first email was sent in 1971. In 2000, the early social networking sites and the dot-com bubble burst led to the stock markets crashing and people were sent to think school. In the years to come, many other social networking sites Facebook was originally launched as an online yearbook of sorts for the staff and students of Harvard. Then it began spreading to colleges all over the nation. In August 2005, the site converted into simply Facebook.com. In September of 2006, Facebook would open its doors to the world, and for anyone who wanted to register an account, moving firmly into position to become the social media giant it is known as today.
Studies about cyberspace discuss the impacts and differences of a person's identity to his or her virtual reality. Presently, people from different walks of life, from 7 to 70, are a part of Facebook. The number one social networking site provides an avenue to connect people, get in touch with long-lost friends and relatives, and a daily log to your everyday activities. However, recent studies have shown that what we usually see in Facebook regarding a person's identity doesn't always hold true. This research aims to give a detailed study on how personal attributes and personality affect self-representation on Facebook. These will also include one's behavior towards the self and other users' Facebook activities as a means of expression. For this study, interviews and surveys are conducted. 100 respondents will be needed for the surveys. These respondents will come from different demographic segments and online behavior. The surveys will give both quantitative and qualitative data regarding Facebook behavior. It is interesting to look at how the respondents were almost divided into two groups in terms of their belief of Facebook being an accurate representation of themselves. When asked why, the respondents who thought that Facebook is not an accurate representation of themselves answered the following statements.
Kasi merong detachment na associated kapag yung words nasa screen at hindi face-to-face. Kaya may ibang bagay na masasabi mo doon na hindi mo naman masasabi pagkaharap mo yung tao. So,
No, kasi pag sa Facebook, minamarket mo yung sarili mo. So, parang mas pinapaganda mo yung image mo.
Kasi hindi naman ako masyado nagpo-post ng opinion ko talaga doon.
On the other hand, those who favored Facebook as an accurate representation of themselves had the following thoughts. Having heard both sides of the respondents, let us hear it from the two UP professors, one from the Information Technology Department Center, and the other one, a sociologist from College of Social Sciences and Philosophy.
I'm Manuel Sapitila. I'm currently assistant professor at the Department of Sociology here in UP.
Ako si Noel Feria, educator sa UP College of Education, and courseware administrator and developer sa UP Information Technology Development Center.
Well, I think it has something to do with self-presentation, right? So, I think they're comfortable in like putting out their real names because it flows with like how they intend to present themselves to the wider public. So, putting your real name.
What does status updates say about a person?
Well, I think it has something to do with self-presentation, right? So, I think they're comfortable in like putting out their real names because it flows with like how they intend to present themselves to the wider public. So, putting your real name adds a bit of like seriousness to the activity.
I wonder what happened to Susie Johnson. They could just look her up on Facebook and find out where she lives, how many kids she has, what she does for a living, and even the pets she has. Facebook is the best communication tool on the internet because when someone posts something, all of their friends on Facebook can see it, which can range from 1 person to 5,000 people. In a matter of seconds, all these people can find out what you're up to or a problem you have faced, making this a fundamental shift in the way we communicate. The World Facebook also plays a tremendous role in spreading news, especially during disasters. People can be aware of what is happening in the world at all times, when in the past, events could take months to spread. Facebook has the power to reconnect people with similar interests, which creates new friendships. Many people are beginning to find love through Facebook as well. Also, people whom are socially handicapped have a chance to feel more comfortable opening up to others. In that case, kids who have chronic illnesses can share what they are going through with other kids who are going through the same thing. People can express themselves through Facebook and seek advice, as people can comment and share what they think. This is a very easy way to get a public opinion or approval on a subject.
Along with the upsides of Facebook come the downsides. It has been known to divide, diminish, and disorient our society. People mostly...
It is now evident that the creation of Facebook is a turning point in history. Facebook has been a turning point for politics in which leaders can spread their message faster and farther than any predecessor has before. It has affected economics by making it easier than ever to get the word out about a business. Socially, it has completely changed the way we communicate with others and receive information.
We have a natural need for belonging, a natural need for connectedness with one another. We share and we love on this planet. But we now have a virtual reality, a reality that has never existed before. Do our connections still stand?
Relationships are built up in the real world very slowly, encounter by encounter, and sometimes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's not nearly as easy as press the button and there's a friend. I've got got 7 friends. Oh, I've got 70 friends. It just doesn't happen like that. It's a model of friendship that is in some ways distorted from reality.
Di ba, nag-start siya sa academia. So parang, syempre, meron ng pool of users dyan. Pero in the Philippines kasi, ang naunang social networking talaga is yung Friendster. Kung nandiyan pa yung Friendster, I believe Friendster pa rin talaga yung mas marami pa rin Friendster users. Pero since mas okay yung user interface ng Facebook, yung look niya, very easy, very intuitive, di ba? Syempre, mas gustuin ko doon. And at the same time, naka-qualify kasi kunwari sa Facebook, makita mo kung pwede mo i-declare na family siya, di ba? Pwede mo i-declare na uncle, ganyan, friend, or boyfriend, girlfriend, it's complicated, di ba? So lahat nandun. At the same time, madami yung gumagamit ng Facebook. So syempre, if I want na, let's say I want to share something, punta ako sa Facebook kung gusto mo talaga effective na publicity of information.
There are 2 questions here. No? So the first is, why do you think that there's a need for social connection? So, in sociology, and I also think that the same would be true for anthropology. No? We believe that the human being, being even in his or her biological state, so is, shall we say, geared towards communicating with others. So there are certain parts of our biological makeup that predispose us to sociability. So because community is not possible if sociability is not there. So communication, both verbal and non-verbal, are building blocks for enduring social bonds, which help in the survival of the species. But the second question, so the first question is relatively straightforward. So I'm saying that biologically we are already predisposed to that, and society as something that is beyond us in a way. So we say in sociology that society exists over and apart the individual consciousness of the persons who make it. So it continues to exist, it persists, even if we are not fully aware of it. So that's relatively straightforward. But why is Facebook one of the most chosen and successful channels for communication? That's another question. So well, other than availability, so it has something to do with the character of communication in the digital world. So wherein the way you present yourself can be delocalized and and you assume a virtual identity. So Facebook is premised on that set of developments during like the digital age, by which we can use platforms like this to extend or sometimes to abruptly break with our identity claims in everyday life. So we have a situation wherein you can craft an identity using what do we usually find in Facebook, like pictures, status updates, liking other people's. So it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of how you present yourself to others. So that and yung pagkapatok niya, how it has garnered like a lot of attention is I think I don't think it's just generational. So it has something to do also with the nature of like our modern society itself. So that our modern life is increasingly becoming complex, and this adds to the complexity. So there is one vehicle, one venue by which we can craft identities and selves. And so I think that would explain the phenomenal rise of Facebook.
It was to make something where you could type in someone's name and find out a bunch of information about that.
Facebook has penetrated so deep within our society that even our nation's president is an active user. For the 2012 presidential election, President Barack Obama used Facebook as a way to reach young voters.
Do you think there is a difference between how a person represents himself or herself in Facebook and in real life?
Real life.
I think that Facebook profile only represents a small percentage of what the person really is. Kasi pwedeng pwedeng naman iba yung personality niya offline. Pwede rin na iba yung personality online. Di ba sa Facebook, pwedeng yung chats niya, di ba? Facebook chats, daldal ka doon, ganyan. Pero pag na-meet mo yung person, tahimik lang siya. Parang ganun. May mga introverts na ganun. Okay? So, minsan nga sabi nila, possible din na, yun nga, very expressive siya online, lahat. Pwede niya i-share yung mga secrets niya. Pero pagdating ng pag nakasalumuha mo na siya, natatahimik lang talaga siya. May mga ganun. Yan. So parang, hindi siya pwede sabihin na hindi siya pwede sabihin na i-represent siya 100% totally nung person. Kailangan siya. Pwede mong i-view siya na dalawang views na pwedeng gawin. Pwedeng yung personality niya composed ng online and offline. Or pwede na yung 100% na personality niya online very different from the 100% personality offline.
Is there a difference? Yes, there is. But we can look at the tandem between, or the struggle between, a continuous, like, shall we say, it's premised on continuity. So the additional factor is like continuous with the self in everyday life, or it could be something that is totally different. That is another question. So do you have data to say that they could be very different people in Facebook?
Yung natin?
Kasi di ba yung question 8, yung last question is, do you believe that your Facebook profile
is an accurate representation of yourself? Parang may konting difference po, 2% lang po, that said yes, that it is an accurate version of themselves, and no. So there's really that small difference.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then we have a very divided set of respondents. So who would say that notwithstanding the use of the real names, so it's still possible that they can portray dimensions of themselves that they're not available, that they don't do in everyday life. So that's interesting kasi for me it's a question of validation. So how do you validate in Facebook that the person is saying something inaccurate about himself or herself? So and in terms of like information, so but identities are not just based on information about yourself. So it's not only about objective indicators about class, about ethnicity. You can actually play with, to use a very liberal term, play with some of these dimensions. So to craft something that might be very different from who you are in like face-to-face conversation. Because I think face-to-face conversations have that immediacy, that is not present in the virtual presence. There's even if there's immediacy in the sense of you can immediately reply, it's decontextualized, and it's the human body itself, the tactility and the physicality of the human body is not there. So that do we say that it creates space for like value added in terms of like crafting identities, I would say so. Because the body is one very important, shall we say, whether we say it's a enabler or a stumbling block to certain identity formations. The body is like something very important to consider, and the mere fact that it's detached from the body is really something very significant to consider.
I think that Facebook profile only represents a small percentage of what the person really is. Kasi pwedeng pwedeng naman iba yung personality niya offline. Pwede rin na iba yung personality online. Di ba sa Facebook, pwedeng yung chats niya, di ba? Facebook chats, daldal ka doon, ganyan. Pero pag namit mo yung person, tahimik lang siya. Parang ganun. May mga introverts na ganun. Okay? So, minsan nga sabi nila, possible din na, yun nga, very expressive siya online, lahat. Pwede niya i-share yung mga secrets niya. Pero pagdating ng kung nakasalamuha mo na siya, tatahimik lang talaga siya. May mga ganun. Yan. So parang, hindi siya pwede sabihin na hindi siya pwede sabihin na i-represent siya 100% totally nung person. Kailangan siya. Pwede mong i-view siya na dalawang views na pwedeng gawin. Pwedeng yung personality niya composed nung online and offline, or pwede na yung 100% na personality niya online very different from the 100% personality offline.
What do you think will happen to Facebook in the future, specifically to how users represent themselves online?
Future, as in, ipapredict ko siya.
Or based sa ngayon?
What do you, ano po yung...
Nako-foresee. Parang yun.
I guess, marami kasing possible na track ang pwede makuha ng Facebook. Pwedeng, since ngayon, di ba, lahat pwede mo interconnect na mga social networking sites. Possibly, and pwede rin mangyari is magkaroon siya ng artificial intelligence. Yung tipong, di ba, lately, ang ginagawa niya ngayon, meron siya, nag-upload ka ng picture. Tapos, nag-recommend siya. Parang, do you want to tag ganito? Pero minsan, di ba, hindi siya inaccurate. Nag-google ko lang, ba't kamukha ko to? Ganyan. Di ba? Or kamukha niya sa ganyan. So, parang, that's one way. And, isa pang possible aspect for Facebook kasi, diba, minsan gugulat ka, uy, kamag-anak ko para si ganito. Kasi nalaman mo sa Facebook, diba, kamag-anak, ganyan. So parang mas madidiscover mo yung parang family tree na actually hindi pa siya ganun Siguro kung okay sa Facebook, kung may family tree siya, trace mo lahat nung, kunwari, yung, as in, pinaka-lolo mo sa tuhod ba yun? Or basta parang ganun, diba? Pati yung mga kabit-kabit din, diba? So lahat yun, ma-uncover mo lahat, yung mga, kung may kabit pa siya, and yung mga ex niya siguro, diba? Lahat yun. So parang very detailed, diba? Yun yung possible na pwedeng sigurong feature sa features ng Facebook. At the same time, mas predictive siya. Sabi nila, baka mamaya pwedeng i-analyze ng Facebook yung mga status updates mo. Lahat yun. Tapos ipapredict niya yung next mong status update. So pwede din yun. So para siyang tinatawag na sure kung maalala, parang data, basta parang prediction siya. May prediction API. Basta parang ganun.
So sir, maapektuhan na yung yung self-representation?
Yes, possibly ma-affect din yun pag ganun. Kasi hindi mo alam, baka mamaya yung pinapredict nung system ng Facebook, iba din dun sa talaga sarili mo, di ba? Kaya nga ginagawa nila ngayon, di ba nagtatag kayo ng pictures, kunwari ng mga tao, you're actually training the system to recognize the person. Na parang, ito yung qualities niya, ito yung looks niya, ito yung eyes, ito yung curve, ganyan. Lahat, para ma-match mo yung actual face ng person. Pero yun nga, hanggat hindi mo siya tinitrain, hindi inaccurate pa din yung pag-recommend niya yung itatag mo yung face ng person sa picture.
Facebook is a global communication tool as well. Leaders of different nations can connect with each other and discuss foreign policies. Conferences between countries can be held face-to-face through the video chat application on Facebook. Facebook is a new way to discuss politics and will continue to develop in the years to come.
I want everybody here to be careful about what you post on Facebook.